And I know you've worked with many different founders. I mean, in all sorts of different businesses, services-based businesses, software. I mean, the full gamut. Like, are there any particular traits that you've seen in the most successful founders that kind of separate the most successful from the least successful?
Yeah, they're humble. If you have humility, you can do a lot. Because if somebody's humble, then they can accept feedback. If they can accept feedback, then they can change. I mean, it's very difficult to, basically, if someone doesn't have humility, then it means that whoever they are day one has to be the person that they need to be at day 1,000. Because if they can't admit a deficit, then they can't improve. And so humility is by far the biggest one. Beyond that, they have to have drive. They have to have some reason that they're going to do it, whether it's, away from fuel or towards fuel. Like, they have to have some sort of drive. There's a big study on this that I've been quoted a lot for, even though it's not my study. But it's, the three most common traits that they've seen. It's not the early wake up time. It's not a lot of, it's not the healthy eating. It's not the cold plunges or the affirmations, but the three common traits were that they had a superiority complex. So they believe that they can do big things. They want to chase after big goals. The second is that they have crippling insecurity and that they feel they'll never be enough, and that they have impulse control. And so if you have a big goal and you have big fuel and you don't stray the path and you do it for a very long period of time, you'll probably win.
Yeah. It's almost like, I think there's a book, it's called like The Manic Edge, to a degree, it's like you almost have to be crazy in a sense. I mean, you think about entrepreneur, the idea of starting a business, the risk that you take on. I mean, obviously, I think Shark Tank maybe has popularized this to an extent, but when you look at the reality of it, it's not always a great proposition. I mean, I think now with a lot of like social media culture, it's this idea of, working remotely from your laptop. Everybody's making 40 grand a month. I don't know why people get stuck on this number, but it just, I don't know that it really depicts an accurate portrayal of what this journey is.
Yeah, well, I think the average, I think the average small business owner takes home like $50,000 a year. I mean, the average small business owner makes the same as the median household income. So, from that sense, it's one person versus a household. So I guess in that sense, they make a little bit more money. They also take on significantly more risk personally in order to do that. So I agree with you. I think that I think right now it's in vogue. It's cool. I mean, it is the way to make the most money. It's also the way to lose the most money. So it is, at definition, the highest risk, highest reward game. But, to quote Warren Buffett, I think the reason business is so risky is because people don't know what they're doing. And that's kind of the nature of it, is that when you start, you're ignorant. Biggest debt you pay is the tax of not knowing, right? You're not knowing what you do. He also says that it's only risky if you don't know what you're doing. And so once you do know what you're doing, then there's not nearly as much risk in business. But the only way to know what you're doing is to get in the game, which means you have to incur lots of risk to get in. And then the more you play, the better you get, and the less risky it is, and the higher reward is.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like in many cases, it's like the solution's making good decisions. How do you make good decisions? Experience. How do you gain experience? Bad decisions. And,
Right.
and the cycle repeats.